There we go. Now we're facing the right direction. Always something. There we go. Let's get this set in the tripod. Guys are loading the truck. Let's get started here. Alright, hey, am I in the shot?
Yeah, you're straight, like, smack in the center.
Alright, so welcome everyone to a special broadcast. We're here to kick off this year's chick check-ins. We're taking a behind-the-scenes tour of Cackle Hatchery. You're watching some chicks being loaded onto a truck. They're getting ready to go out for shipment so they can get to your house here soon. All right, so with me today is Dr. Kemba Marshall.
Hi, everyone.
She's our avian veterinarian at the Purina Animal Nutrition Center. And joining us shortly will be Jeff from Cackle Hatchery. He went to find somebody. He got pulled away just as we were getting ready to start. So while we're waiting for Jeff to come out, maybe Kemba, you can talk a little bit about what you do at Purina.
Yeah, of course, thank you. So like Patrick said, my name is Kemba Marshall, and I am Director of Veterinary Services at the Land O'Lakes Purina Animal Nutrition Center. What we do is oversee the day-to-day care of all of the animals there at the farm. Everything that you would think about, deworming programs, vaccines, all that kind of stuff. And then we also do some of our customer service help. If we have folks that are calling in, especially veterinarians, then we're involved helping our customers when they have questions about our products.
All right. I hope Jeff comes back soon. This might be a short tour. For those of you out there, you know, raising chickens, I think a lot of you, our Facebook page viewers, remember last year we raised chickens kind of in a similar fashion to what you guys do at home. We're going to be doing the same thing again this year, and this year we actually want to come see how those birds are hatched. We get started, and we're actually going to pick up some birds today and take them back to the farm so that we can follow those birds over the next several weeks. And I see Jeff. Jeff, hey. Come on in here. Jeff joined us, so this is Jeff Smith from Cackle Hatchery. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself. And then I guess we'll get to kind of what's going on in the back here before our birds depart.
Yes, they're about ready to leave Kansas City. This is our first load of the day. Of course, my name is Jeff Smith. We've been here at the Cackle Hatchery in our family since 1936. We are a mail order hatchery, so we ship birds all over the United States. We do truck our birds up to Kansas City. They get on the airlines in Kansas City. There's several flights that they take them out from there. And they go all over the United States. We do have some trucks that are ventilated. We used to have trucks that, you know, when we had their local post office, they would have their big trailers, and when you get too many birds in there, it would build up heat.
Yeah.
So, you know, several years ago, we decided, you know, hey, we need to do a lot of our own trucking, you know, to get it to Kansas City, to get it in.
I can turn them off if I
the
want.
mainstream. So,
Right.
so yeah, we have side vents on them. There's ventilations at the top.
I wasn't
Of
going to
course,
say
chicks,
anything.
you know, chicks you want to have warm. They want to stay warm, but you also got to keep them from smothering and be comfortable during transit. So we try to nest them, and hopefully they have a really fun, enjoyable trip to the post office. So, so that's what's happening right here. Got a couple of out, so.
Yeah, good. I was just watching some of the comments that come up. I think Daniel said his chickens are on this truck somewhere.
Probably.
He's got some
maybe.
coming. We had some other people said they ordered birds from you not too long ago. So we've got some Cackle Hatchery customers out there posting stuff. So I was looking there, so I wasn't paying a total attention to what was going on. Did you talk about how long do they spend on the truck or going to the airport from here?
Yeah, this trip is probably about 3.5 hours.
Okay.
You know, if there's
Right.
traffic's good and that type of thing. Right. So they're unloaded immediately into the main post office up there.
Right.
And then they get sorted and get right up to the airport. So we'll be making runs all the way. Our last load will go out at 7, around 7 tonight will be our very last load that goes out to make the last connection. So, so yeah, if we have somebody that's, hey, it might be in this load. We have several loads yet that's got to go out throughout the day. So.
Yeah, that's great. Yep, and so we pack them in there nice and tight, and enough birds in that truck that'll keep the truck kind of warm enough for the birds to tolerate. They won't
Yep.
be too cold. So.
Yep. If we have a light mode, you know, we don't have as much ventilation opened up and air circulating. So
We do everything we can to keep those birds as comfortable as possible on their journey home.
yes, they like warmth.
All right. Let's see what else. So, we wanted to get that in here, so I was a little remiss in getting the introductions done, but I want to make sure that everybody out there that's watching post comments. We'd happy to hear what questions you have. We'll try and get to some of those questions during the broadcast today. If we don't get to those questions during the broadcast, then we'll certainly see about getting to answer those at some point this week. I think we've discussed enough out here about the birds. So now that we've seen how they got to this point, let's go back and maybe follow along to see how they get to, well, how we get to the truck.
Okay.
So let's follow back inside and let's go through that. And maybe while we're doing that, Jeff, maybe you can tell us a little bit about Cackle Hatchery's history.
Yes.
All
We.
Make sure we're talking at the camera so they can hear us.
So.
Just making sure it's going right. I thought I hit something wrong.
Our hatchery basically started in 1936, and it's been in the family since then. My granddad started it. Actually, the next building right next here was one of the first buildings that he constructed.
Okay.
Even some of the blocks in the building were hard to come by with the war and everything going on. There was a restriction on building materials, so
Okay.
he even struggled trying to be able to put up a business at the time. So,
now you've grown into this thing, this giant hatchery. So
Yeah.
About how many birds do you ship out on a daily or weekly basis? Do you have any idea?
Well, we hatch out probably right around 250,000 baby chicks every week.
Okay.
We try to split that off on a Monday and a Wednesday,
Okay.
so we don't, overwhelm the system,
All right.
our system, and the postal system.
Okay.
So that's typically what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
so-
right. Well,
But
that's
yeah, it's if we want to, we can go up maybe to the storefront.
All right,
and
let's
there's
go up.
a little bit of history there.
Okay.
If you want to talk about the history.
I
real
know
quick.
we did see a lovely picture of Jeff as a child
Uh-oh.
that we might have to share with everyone. So we'll come up through here. So this room is kind of shipping, or this is packing here. We're doing a lot of stuff in here. We'll go through here and move up to. Do we go up to the storefront first, or do you want to stop in here?
You guys, what do you?
Well, we're here. Come on. Let's look at the chickens. Let's talk about some of the birds here. So I guess how many different breeds of chickens do you kind of work through?
Well, currently we have right around 202 different varieties or
varieties.
colors or breeds.
Okay.
In that area.
right.
And then of course we have a lot of different types of specials that might have a lot of different breeds within those.
Yeah.
In those groupings. These are brown leghorn
Okay.
pullets. And when I say pullets, they're females.
Yeah.
We're about 90% accurate. That's about as good as you can get
Right.
when you start either feather sexing or, if you're doing vent sexing.
Yeah. So you hear that out there, people. Unfortunately, not all of those ladies are ladies. So you may get an occasional rooster in your flock. They do the best they can, but it's quite the skill, and mistakes do happen. And then where do these, the birds come from? Where do the eggs come from? Tell us a little bit about where they...
Okay. If you want to, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to go ahead and kind of maybe follow up on your first question here, Patrick.
All right. Sorry.
You mentioned something about, hey, sexing's not a perfect science, but if you live in a town where you really absolutely cannot have a rooster, there are a couple breeds that we can sex almost like 99.6% or 99.9%. So, we got some black sex link over here. If you want to look at them real quick.
All right. So let's come over here.
Ah, yes. So
What do we got? Oh, there we go. Look at
these
those.
are black sex link, and This particular cross will really generate a color that you can really distinguish between pullets and females.
Okay, yep.
So, and it's a pretty good genetically a good match for you know, being able to see the difference between a male and a female. So if you're, you know, really, I just cannot afford to have a rooster.
Yep.
I don't want to rehome it. I don't really want to butcher it. I don't, you know, I can't have it crowing around. You know, the black sex link might be a really good choice for you.
That way you can really tell by just the color of the birds right out of the egg which one's male, which one's female.
Yep.
That one's almost foolproof.
Yep. So this would be a really good choice for those people. But you know, on that topic of sexing birds, you know, we have a couple different ways of doing that. We have a feather sexing program out on our farms that we have selected roosters and females mated together that will produce a long and short feather.
Okay.
On that particular program. So the other way of sexing would be vent sexing.
Right.
And that's where you have to, you know, we have hired professional vent sexers that come in. They get paid very well. It's a very hard job.
Right.
You know, they travel. They got biosecurity issues between facilities. And vent sexing, you know, typically it's about 90% accurate too. Now there are some breeds like we have some show type black Americanas. We have some the Morans. Those are difficult for them to determine really if it's a male or female. So some of those breeds are like 80 to 90% accurate. So those are breeds that you can still get in females, but our accuracy is just not there
it's not
where
a
we like.
science, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then there are some that I guess you don't sex at all. Some of the smaller breeds.
Yeah. So we've got you know, a lot of our rare breed bantams. We do not have a feather sexing program set up on them, and then vent sexing becomes a challenge.
Right.
They're delicate. A lot of our bantams are actually almost, I'd say 95% of our bantam flocks came from show type seed stock from breeders that we knew or know, you know, and work on that. So a lot of those breeds, the chick is really small, they're delicate, they're not as strong as a durable standard type breed. So back to the sexing, it is very difficult for them to sex them, and it's hard on the chick. So, you know, if I have a breed that's hard to sex and it's damaging to the chick, I just don't want to offer it a sexable variety.
Yeah, I mean, for the people that followed our birds that we got last year from Cackle, we got a bunch of silkies and bantams and a lot of those smaller breeds. They weren't sexed, and we had some roosters mixed in there, so we did have to kind of thin the population. We had to find some new homes for some of those roosters as they got older, but there's certainly options out there if you do find yourself with a rooster in your flock to kind of, I guess, find them new homes.
Now, we do have a question.
Do we have a question?
We have a question that's come in regarding the different color eggs that different chickens will lay. And the question is, do you have any blue or olive colored egg layers?
Yes, we've got on True Blues, we have the cream leg bar, and then we have like 4 or 5 different colors of the True Americana, and they lay a true blue egg. As far as green to blue, well, we actually have one more that lays a true blue. We have a Easter Egger Bantam. We don't sex them, but they lay a really nice blue egg and consistent. Now, if you get into Easter Eggers, they lay blue to green eggs. You'll get some pinkish or brown ones in there too. And then we have an olive egger that we have. First generation is what we produce. It's basically a cream leg bar over a Welsheimer. And that first generation produces a really nice olive egger. It's got a nice olive green to it. You can get some of those fun specks in it that come from the Welsheimer side. So those are a really nice, colorful egg. to the table.
Yeah, so the one point you made in there, so the fun fact about getting green eggs is you actually mix a brown egg layer and a blue egg layer. And apparently brown and blue inside of a chicken make green. So, and they didn't take art class, I guess. So, all right, so then I guess we're surrounded in this room with all of these chickens. What are, I guess, some of maybe your more popular breeds, and then maybe what are kind of maybe the more exotic breeds that you carry? What's kind of popular with the crowd these days? What can you share with us about some of that?
So we have, down in this room, we have a lot of just different standard breeds. We have some Easter eggers here.
Okay.
These are real popular. Again, they lay, a green to blue egg. And these also come in multiple colors, as you can see. So the feathering is kind of unique on them. So they're always a fun pack. If you happen to order a rainbow pullet special, there are Easter eggers that come in that. We hopefully you get some cream or white eggshells, some brown, dark brown, and then also, some different blue or green.
Yeah. So then I guess what are some good layer options for?
Layer options, okay. We've got black Australorps over here, Barred Rock, Rhode Island Reds. If you want a white egg layer, we have the brown leghorn, and we have some white leghorn that lay a big white egg. Most of all these other breeds here are good egg layers. But we've got cinnamon queens. If you're wanting something a little bit darker and a brown color, we have the Cuckoo Morand and the Welsomer also. That's also a really good egg layer. So that's what you'll find kind of down here on the floor in the racks down here.
All right. All right. What else should we discuss? I know vaccination is a big thing. It happens. We want to make sure that you understand, I guess, what vaccination means and what vaccinations are available out there. First, the key is Merrick's, right?
Yep,
that's a big one. And then birds are vaccinated for Merrick's disease?
You can, when you place your order, you can request that. It's a service item that you pay for. I don't know that we have enough time to get into all that, but it's whether you want a Merrick's or not, there's some different schools of thoughts on that. I mean, from our standpoint, if you've had Merrick's on your place or long-term poultry on your place, you probably really need to get on Merrick's. Because it's a devastating disease. It's very common in just the environment. So,
and the other options some hatcheries offer are vaccinations for coccidiosis. And so I guess the key thing is to make sure that you're aware that there is a difference between the Merrick's vaccination and the cocci vaccination. So when you go to the store or you buy birds and ask that they were vaccinated, make sure you kind of specify what they were vaccinated for, because that's going to kind of dictate whether you buy medicated feed or not for your birds. So, and I know we were talking earlier about coccidiosis, and Jeff's they don't offer the cocci-vac here.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we've looked at it a couple of years, and we're still kind of up in the air on it. There's a couple of issues from our standpoint. So you're giving them a little bit of, cocci exposure to build up an immunity. The process on that, on most applications, it's a droplet form. It's usually colored, so they'll go at it and they'll peck at it and ingest it and get it in their system. So a couple of things, we still kind of question the effectiveness of it. If that's creating any extra stress through the tipping process. Usually the chicks get green dye on them or other color, and a lot of people don't like their chicks arriving all stained up, not looking natural, and then we don't know, are they going to feed them non-medicated or medicated feed, which might negate that type of vaccination. So we're still up in the air on it. But at this point, we don't offer it.
Yeah, so you've chosen to not offer that service. Others may, but so it's really going to be up to you guys out there to decide how you want to feed them. We certainly have a medicated starter feed that the birds will do just fine on. It's medicated with amprolium, not an antibiotic, right?
Correct.
That's right. The veterinarian, not an antibiotic. So you don't have to worry about that if that's a concern for you. So, and that will keep your birds protected all the way through that starter phase. Just make sure once you start feeding them medicated feed, you feed it all the way through until you switch them to a layer feed. That's the big point. All right. So, any questions in here? Do we have any Facebook questions? Oh, we're getting the nod. We've got lots of Facebook questions.
They're asking if the lady got extra birds from us. She wants to know if her extra birds got married along with the Biosecurity taking it.
All right.
Yeah, good question.
So the question is, she ordered birds vaccinated with Merrick's, and she ended up with extra birds, and she's questioning whether those birds were vaccinated for as well.
Yep.
And
Our policy is if you vaccinated that order, any extras that we've sent of that breed or sex, they are vaccinated. So, and typically, if we send in extras, they're not of another breed, they're not roosters, they're whatever you've ordered. And typically we put a check mark off to the side that, we fulfilled that order, and if we've got an extra little mark there, it means, hey, we're giving you an extra check on this breed.
We also have some things to know with the Newcastle outbreak in California. Are you able to ship to California?
We are. There's some zip code restrictions on in and out, zip codes that we can't physically ship to. We are getting a few customers saying, hey, our birds have been ill, we can't find them. And so we're still working with the post office, trying to figure out if there's a distribution hub where maybe some things are not, being held in quarantine. So I haven't checked emails yet this morning, but we are still kind of working through that process. So yes, there is definitely a quarantine area where they're not letting birds move back and forth.
And then we also have a question where we have an egg-laying hen. She's laying just fine. She's got some feathers that are missing on her neck, and so the question is, why are the feathers missing?
Yep.
So, full disclosure, without any of us seeing the bird, the real answer is we don't know because we've not seen the bird. Right. But what in general may be some things, I certainly have some ideas, but what may be some things that would cause there not to be any feathers in the neck area?
Okay, so if it's on the side area, more than likely my first thought would be that, they're going through a fence area where their water or their feeder is continually rubbing there, or there might be some greenage or something. They're trying to get through the fence and they're rubbing. If it's kind of bare on top and they have a rooster, that's might be just from the mating, where the feathers can get pulled off there. It could be a molting issue, but again, I don't have enough information to really try to.
Yeah, there's lots of things, but probably the rubbing is probably the big thing. Probably just wearing some feathers off. All right. Okay. All right.
So we do, if we have time, we do have one more question that I think is very key, and that is, what is the best advice for keeping chicks healthy once they just arrived at your home? So you've got the box, they look good, now they're at my home. Now what should I be doing?
Okay. So yeah, I mean the shipping is can be stressful on chicks. We try to make it. Mother Nature's built in a lot of things. They've provided that 3-day supply of yolk in their system. It's heightened. Their immunity is heightened to where they can take some extremes and lows. But once that's happened and that process has gone by, that 2 or 3 days, they've got to get immediately into a brooder where they can get warm. They're not going to want to move around or be active or drink or anything until they get their body warmed up. So it's important that you have a really good heat source. One of the biggest problems when chicks arrive, people really have not put a thermometer under to really see how warm it is. Well, it says it's 90 degrees, but if a chick has gotten stress through shipping, it does not have the means to build that body heat back up. So if it goes to drinking right away, that's going to cool its body down real quick. So the key basically is to make sure that they get their body warmed back up. So, it's a baby chick, they're usually, their body temp's somewhere between 100 and 104. So if they don't have the means to get that body temp up, you've got to artificially get that temp back up on that chick. So that's your first priority. And then, of course, you want to have a water and a feeder close by. Do just a real quick dip of the beak, just so they know where the water is. You don't want to, if you try to dip their beak slowly, they're going to get it down their lungs, they could aspirate, you can start causing some trouble there. So if you do it, you want to just do it real quick, just say, hey, that's water, oh, I like that, and then they'll go to drinking. So you want to have really, really warm, almost hot water, because by the time you flip it, put it there, it's going to cool down. So you don't want anything to cool their body down. So that's critical. So you don't want to, you don't want to go, well, hey, the post office called, I need to go pick up my chicks, I need to go run this errand, that errand, that errand. No, you need to be, as soon as they're in, you've got to pick them up, get them home, and you really need to have some scheduled time to be around. Sometimes people will get their chicks and they'll just put them in their brooder and then they go off to work. That's not a smart thing to do. I'm not saying that it can work, I'm just saying you're setting yourself up for some potential problems. So having your brooder tested out before, making sure you have time to be around and make sure they get off to a good start. So those types of starters.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to kind of ask you about where the birds come from themselves. So let's talk a little bit about where your eggs come from.
We have most of all of our breeders are on Amish farms that are about 40 miles from our facility.
Okay.
And we put out our own breeders, we manage them, we call them, we grade them, we do all the testing, the management.
Okay.
They basically just take care of them, feed and water, and then they bring the eggs to us.
Yes.
So every Thursday morning between 9 and about noon, we have all of our farms deliver all their eggs to the hatchery. So we have probably about 300,000 eggs that come in every Thursday from the farm.
Okay.
Our farms, we do kind of naturally. We don't do any artificial light, so we kind of rely on Mother Nature to, whenever they kick into lay, that's when our season starts.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, that's good. So I think, is there anything else that you want to cover while we're in this room?
No,
where should we head next? Where should we go see?
We could maybe go look at some rare breed or bantams.
All right, let's go look.
Something.
Let's go take a look at some of the rare breeds and bantam chickens. Where are they?
We'll go on up this way.
They're all the way in there.
All right, we're going up here.
We can stop here real quick. We've got.
Oh, look at this.
We've got a lot of these already boxed up and shipped out, but
we got some ducks.
These are
some
some
ducks.
black Swede ducks here, black Swedish.
Look how adorable those are.
We've
Want
got
to eat them? Not really.
The blue Swedish.
we got some blue Swedes here.
Yeah, those are cute. Those are gonna grow fast, people.
Yeah.
You get ducks, they're gonna be enormous. 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long. Oh, there's some turkeys.
Yeah,
got
there's a few
turkeys.
turkeys left here, it looks like. These are some bourbon red turkeys.
There you go.
They've got kind of a red cast to them.
Reddish color.
Yep, this is a heritage breed, and they mate naturally and live long lives.
Yeah.
So if you're a first-time poultry owner, I don't know that I would start out with turkeys, because they are dumb. They can require some extra attention. They do silly stuff like piling up in a corner for no apparent reason, and they
can drown themselves.
They drown themselves. They look like they're healthy and running around, but you don't know if they're cold or hot. And there's a starve out, what we call a starve out. Basically, they They look like they're healthy, walking around eating and drinking, but if you really watch close, they're not eating and drinking, you know, so they're a little dumb. I don't even know how they survive out in the wild.
I don't know.
Talk about how they use your guys'
So, what else have we got?
That ruined duck.
Ruined ducks. Oh, these are good. Lots of ducks.
Adorable.
Yeah, we've got ruined ducks, white
Yeah.
pekin. We've got some broad-breasted turkeys over here, and bantams.
I see some geese over there.
Yeah, let's see.
I think we're going over.
One goose.
One goose.
Uh-oh. One.
We'll take him.
Look at that.
We've got an African goose here.
Yeah.
I have him.
Getting
Can I
ready
have
to get packed up after a while.
It's adorable.
He's not going. It's not like he's going anywhere else.
We've got
Is it like
Follow Jeff. What's Jeff showing us
you
now?
think watch
Science
your
show,
step.
Jeff.
I'm sorry, I think Patrick, you were wanting to take some blue lace back today.
I was.
I've got a couple put in a box, but I think they come different. You'll see as chicks they'll have some blue here, and it depends on the bloodline that you have on the blue lace. But you'll see different types of markings for a blue lace.
Yeah, I know.
Red Wyandotte.
I know AJ specifically wanted some blue laced Wyandottes.
Okay. And certainly these are considered by some blues also, but we call these the splash part of the blue, so we kind of separate these out. But they come, they'll have a splash lace with the red on the back. You mentioned something about olive eggers. I mean, here's what these chicks kind of look like.
There you go. A handful of olive eggers.
Yeah.
A lot of them tend to all look like that chipmunk. They got that chipmunk. That's a kind of a camouflage aspect.
No one wants to mess with the chicken.
Here's this is
Some Polish.
a buff Polish. We call it's actually a buff laced Polish chick.
Those are fun.
So
they get the big crest on their heads.
Yep. We got
We raised a couple of those last year.
Did you?
They were fan favorites.
These are white crested black Polish.
Yeah. All right.
The downside to Polish is, they don't see predators very well. They're kind of hidden a lot. So, their eyes. So some people trim them back.
Yeah.
But we have different rare breeds over here. Different types of bantams. These are a lot of different Old English here. We've got Cochin bantams.
Look at these. Look at these blues.
They're so tiny.
Those are fuzzy. Look how fuzzy they are. They're adorable.
A big favorite are silkies. So we've got.
Who doesn't love a silky?
Yeah.
These are what's called a splash silky.
All right.
So
All
right.
So, Jeff, when we were talking before, you mentioned a care sheet. So once they've gotten their order at home, what information are you able to provide with the shipment?
So on the top of the box you'll have a your packing slip will be in here. Maybe I can go find one of those here in a minute.
Yeah.
We'll go talk about that too. But you'll have a care sheet that gives you, talks everything about, the supplies you're going to need, our guarantee, space, bedding, instructions after they arrive, kind of about the heat. This is important that, a lot of people think of, I think a common problem that's happening is a lot of people kind of think of their brooder, they kind of think of it as an incubator. In other words, they're trying to make the temperature the same throughout the whole thing. So, we're a big advocate of having your brooder area and then a cool down zone where they can run and play. The way I try to help people explain it is that, if you have a chick under a mother hen, they're running under the mother hen to get 105 to 104 degree temp. And then when they get too hot, they stick their head out. If they want to get out, they'll go run. you know, away from it to get cooled down. So if you have a brooder set up and it's the same really intense heat everywhere, that might be okay for a couple days, but after that they're going to start having heat strokes and problems because they're getting overheated.
Right.
I know on YouTube, you know, you see a lot of people utilizing tubs at Lowe's or Walmart or something like that, but the problem is there's just not enough space there, because if you drop a 150 or 250 watt bulb in there, there's no cool area for them to get away from. So at some point they're going to get overheated, probably. So I'm not saying you can't do it, I'm just saying you really need to kind of know what you're doing, because you can overheat them real quick.
Yep, and always pay attention to the birds and kind of let them be your guide as to what's going on. If you see them trying to get as far away from that heat as possible, then it's time to make some changes.
Yeah, I mean, if they're all up there and they're panting, you know, they're going to be heat stroking out soon.
Let's go see if we can find one of those packing slips. You said there was some information on there we want to share with them. And then we can talk about that. And then want to save some time so we can talk about incubation. Incubation of the eggs as well, and kind of show off some of the equipment you've got. Talk about that a little bit. Okay. All right, folks.
So, you know, Patrick, to your question, I guess you were saying about an invoice. So yeah, I mean, you'll get an invoice. It's folded up like this. It's a packing invoice. You know, it'll have our MPIP number on it. You'll have your invoice date on it, where it's being shipped to. You know, you'll have your quantities. This particular order does not have any type of Merrick's on it, or we would have it Merrick's. But typically we would put, you know, if we sent an extra barred rock over here, we'd probably put a check mark with a little mark on it indicating that we did send it and we sent an extra one. You know, if you need health papers, a 9-3 form, we have that down here at the bottom. There's also some helpful information down here. So that's kind of what's in your packing slip.
Right.
We talked about the instructions. You know, salmonella is always something too. We want to, you know, just keep reminding people that, you know, a lot of people start their birds, you know, in the house. So you just need to make sure that you're washing up well, and make sure that certainly any small children and elderly that are, you know, they're washing up properly. So I know you see a lot of cute videos where people are putting their ducks in the sink and, you know, doing stuff like that. You know, we prefer people not to do that. You know, it's just, you know, there are different pathogens in about anything. So you just don't want to take chances. Be smart, wash up properly. So we put a little poster in there just to kind of remind them about, you know, some of those concerns. You know, I don't know if you wanted to, we could talk maybe a little bit about, here's a table open over here. Let's go over here.
Oh, okay.
So we've got, you know, like for today, you know, we put out some basic, you know, there's some instructions.
Sure.
I'm not going to get into this, but it kind of tells them, hey, if you're shipping to north or south and the different size orders, there's some instructions here on what they might do. We might use a box like this. You know, we might end up putting a double pad in the bottom to help insulate it. You know, we may have padding all the way around. You know, we may be using, you know, a box that's more ventilated, like up here.
Got different size holes.
Yeah. And then we got another one that's about twice this size.
Okay.
And then we have what we call 100 size type box too. So there's different boxes, different ways of packing it, just to try to make sure they have a comfortable trip.
Yep.
We have, you know, a heat pack that will, you know, they're shipped in. Basically, that's a 72-hour heat pack, and some of these burn consistent, some don't. So you know, we have to kind of fine tune how we use it so we don't overheat them, but
Right.
yet hopefully it'll burn properly and give them the right amount of heat that they need. This is not used all the time. It's just
Yeah.
really used for small orders or cold states. Typically we're able to pack them and nest them kind of like a mama hen would to kind of keep comfortable for that trip.
Yeah. All right, so maybe a little bit about where you can pick chicks up. Can people come here
Yeah.
and get chicks? And then talking about how maybe they can order the birds themselves.
Okay.
Something to discuss.
This over here is kind of our Merixing station. These orders here are waiting to be Merixed so we can get them going, but we don't use an automated Merix. We still do it kind of by hand.
Okay.
That way we can kind of just have a better look at the chick and you know, examine them as we're Merixing them. But basically it's a needle that slides right in the back of their neck underneath the skin.
Okay.
And you know, it's a real quick deal,
Right.
and so that's how we do our Merix
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, storefront.
Try not to move it so fast.
Should I give it Metastillo?
All right, so we're out here in the storefront area.
Yeah, so certainly you can come in and visit us anytime. We have a storefront here. There's, you know, we can talk with you, give you some information. You can buy some chicks. About 99.9% of everything we do is pre-ordered.
Okay.
So we like to have things sold ahead of time. And usually Tuesdays and Thursdays are pickup days. So if you've ordered something, those are the dates that we're going to give you. So when you get a confirmation of your order, you know, you'll get giving you some information, some tips, some, you know, care tips, videos you can go watch. But it'll also say, hey, your invoice is attached,
Yeah.
and it'll give them, you know, their ship date or their pickup date on the invoice.
All right.
So they know, you know, when to come. But if somebody's just stopping by and not pre-ordering, the best day to come in would be a Tuesday or a Thursday before noon.
Okay.
Because that's when we've done all of our shipping the night before, and we've got a lot of birds maybe overhatched, and our surplus dealers and all of our other wholesalers haven't come in to take rest of them. So that's a good time to come in and say, hey, do you happen to have, you know,
Yeah.
this breed or that breed or
Right.
whatever. So.
Yeah, so he's located here in Lebanon, Missouri. So if you're in the area, then you can certainly think about coming and getting chicks. Now, I know we're starting to get low on time here, and I know we wanted to kind of run out to the incubators.
Yeah, I can go show you a
Take
couple
a look at
of
that. Just talk a little bit about how you hatch out your birds. Do we have any questions?
They're asking where the Cackle Hatchery is located.
Oh,
Lebanon, Missouri.
where is Cackle Hatchery?
Downtown Lebanon, Missouri.
There you go.
Yep, we're about 50 miles from Springfield, about, you know, I don't know, 80 miles from Branson, 30 miles from Lake of the Ozarks. You know, there's
Okay.
several
Yep.
tourist sites
Yeah.
around here.
And if you can't get in, then you have a website that they can order from.
Yep, they can go right on our website and browse around, place orders there. You know, basically when you do place an order, you'll get a confirmation that, you know, you did get we have your order in house, and we're looking for a good date to secure that for you. So, so we have so many different breeds. We have so many different packages and varieties that have to pull from so many different breeds. So. We don't rely totally on technology. We kind of want to look at it and make sure we're giving them a pretty good date that we think we're going to ship these on. So usually within, you know, 1 to 3 days, then they're getting a confirmation of, hey, you secured your date, here it is, you know, and they may have requested a certain date, or they've said, you know, as soon as possible. So that's when they're getting that date secured. They do have availability tabs on there, so they can kind of see, you know, when breeds might be available.
All right.
You know, so.
Okay. Yeah, lots of information out there. All right, so let's walk out to the incubators and talk about those in our final few minutes.
Okay.
And then, you know, Kim, if there are any questions that we can kind of walk and answer
we got nothing at the moment. Otherwise, we'll just kind of walk and see what we can see.
Here we have a couple white Emden geese here.
There you go.
Yep. And I think there's some Appleyard ducks in there. And some white Pekin ducks. Most
at the
are
ducks.
over on that side.
Yeah. I got some incubating. Alright. We need some traveling music. So we're going to wander through here. Kind of some of the birds that are in there they can look at. Back in the cheeping noise. Alright, let's go. So I guess one thing to be sure is to make sure that once you get those birds home, you get them on food and water as quickly as possible. It's going to be a starter feed. We want to get those birds on the right feeding program as quickly as possible so we can get the nutrition that they need on a daily basis. Because if they're not eating, they're not growing, and we want those birds to grow. So here we are. We finally made it to our incubators, or at least some of the incubators.
Yeah, this is Patrick. This is kind of one of the first buildings my granddad built. So
Okay.
we still operate a bunch of old Robbins incubators in part of our hatchery, and these were probably made back in the 40s and 50s. And this unit here will hold about 25,000 eggs, and then it has a little hatcher compartment on it too. So basically we're setting eggs in this particular unit. We're not doing a one setting on it. It's a multiple setting. So we're setting eggs about every 3.5 days and rotating. So we might have 12 or 20 trays that go in here, and then 3.5 days later we're pulling them. The next hatch that's coming up is getting pulled out, new eggs are going in. So it stays full all the time, but it's being rotated. We do that to kind of help moderate the temperatures. If we set the whole thing full for one hatch, it's hard to regulate the temp and humidity kind of at the end of the stage of hatching. So that's kind of why we do that.
Oh, look at that.
We've got, it turns on a 45-degree angle. This one's set up every 2 hours. It'll automatically turn on a 45 to the front and 45 to the back. It's on a big steel rod to support all that weight. Of course, on an incubator, really you just need 3 things to make sure that the eggs are turned properly so they will hatch. You've got to have the right temperature and the right humidity. Those are the 3 basic things for an incubator to work. In the back, we have a huge fan that chops the air to help keep all the cool spots out and keep the temperatures even, throughout the incubator. So these are all made out of redwood. You can't even buy this redwood anymore.
That's right,
this
Angela.
is back when they were,
It's a
cutting them.
big incubator. All right.
But yeah, let's go back.
And
we
then-
can.
You want to look at, so this is the old school incubators, and then you have some newer ones.
Yeah, let's kind of go through the whole range here, I guess. We've got multiple types of incubators through the hatchery, but let's go look at across the street where we have some newer
All right.
ones. We'll get in one area over there.
All right. We're just got a few more minutes. We'll walk over here. More chickens in boxes. And in this room we have what appears to be eggs.
Yeah, our egg room, this is, we have eggs coming in every Thursday, and then of course we're setting those eggs through that week, and then we get this totally empty and cleaned up, and then next Thursday all the eggs come in again. So this will be, we're trying to get ready to get our second setting set for the
Chicken on the loose.
We got a
Got an
random chicken.
escapee, yep. So we'll take him along for a little ride
Right.
today. So
Field
yeah,
trip.
let's go across the street and we'll look at some
All right.
other incubators.
Let's follow Jeff.
Field trip.
We got some more incubators in here. It's gonna get bright. Close your
Prepare
eyes.
yourselves.
There we
we go. One of their expansion buildings. And in another room. Here we go. All right. More incubators. Not so much wood in here.
Yeah, these are, these are nature forms. I mean, you can use different types of hatchers and setters, but these are, they work in principle the exact same way, really, as any incubator. The difference on these is on the old machines, they're on a fixed rack in the cabinet. On these, we can actually pull the whole rack out.
Okay.
So if we want to do some repairs in the back, clean the back easier, if we've got a turner go down, we can pull the rack out, access that. So, but basically, they got, a lot of these have electronic, heads on them that monitor stuff. These readings up here really are not that, they're not that accurate. They're actually calibrated more to a test thermometer that we have. So you might see some of these that are running 100-degree well. Like this one here, it's not really running 100.2. It's probably calibrated down to 99.5 on our test thermometer, but that's what that particular head is reading.
Let's see if we can see that. You can't see that on Facebook. There it is. There, I found it. So we're looking closer to 99 on that thermometer. So
yeah, so
a little different.
So yeah, I mean these same principle basically.
So
we have some incubators that are geared more for Cornish.
yeah.
We have some that are geared more for different types of breeds. Temperature can vary. I mean, typically you're running machines anywhere between 99 and 100, but it depends on what type of eggs are in there, what time of year. So we run different machines at different temps.
Yeah. So I guess in those first incubators, about how many eggs are in those incubators at a time?
The first one that we looked at, the old Robins, that one unit we looked at holds right at 25,000 eggs.
All right.
So
Versus,
And one of these holds.
And these hold, what we did on the Robins, it was really a 2-unit. It was kind of like this unit and that unit. So these hold probably, this one holds around 11,000. This one holds probably around 11,000.
Okay.
So they're a little bit, don't have quite as much capacity.
Yeah.
And then again, it depends on the old Robins. It really depends on what kind of eggs you're putting in there, too. But if you're talking about a standard chicken egg, around 25,000.
All right. So, all right. Anything else that you want to share with our Facebook audience about Cackle Hatchery? Do we have any questions?
So we do have a question, which you can answer as you feel comfortable. But they're asking how many chicks you sell in a year.
Well, I mean, roughly, we run about capacity. So we're putting in we have about 900,000 eggs in our machines at all times. And that's usually through February through the end of August. Then we kind of back down September and then October. So it kind of, falls off there. But during that time, we're running full capacity. We still mainly do just seasonal hatching. We don't like having to get into the winter months and having to struggle with the cold weather, trying to ship chicks. And it's also a very good time for us to shut everything down at the farm. So we have everything clean. We have our new chicks going in. So it's just a good time to get our farms all rotated and clean, break down the hatchery, do all the cleaning, maintenance there, so we can get started again. So.
Now we are getting a ton of questions about what chicks we're going to have at the farm this year.
I know.
But I feel like that should be a surprise.
Great. So we're gonna bring those chicks home with us today. We're gonna pick them up after we're done here, and then you guys can come back on Thursday. We'll be at the farm. We'll do another Facebook Live, and we are gonna follow those birds throughout the next year. Watch them grow. We're going to check in with those birds on a weekly basis here for about the next 4 to 5 weeks, and then we'll, as things slow down a little bit, we'll check in on them at least monthly from there on out. But, so we're not going to break the news to you right now. Little
have to come
teaser.
back.
You're going to have to come back on Thursday and find out what we've decided to take home.
Yeah.
So,
I want to know what the most popular breed is we have.
oh, what is the most popular breed that you have? What bird do you sell the most of? Do you have any idea what that is?
I mean, still yet, even today, I mean, it depends on the market, but if we're talking about, hey, what do we sell the most of, it's still like Easter eggers, barred rock, Rhode Island red, buckthorn.
All the good hardy layers.
Yeah. But, on the other hand, it depends on, we sell a lot of, rare breed, fancy
Yep.
breeds. A lot of people are really getting into the multicolored eggshell.
Yep.
So they're really interested in the olive eggers, the true blues, or the Americanas,
Right.
and, Easter eggers.
Yeah, I think you find people start off with those Buffalo Bringtons, the barred rocks, just to get comfortable with it. And once they figure out they can keep them alive, they're like, now I can start breaking into kind of the fancier ones and
Yeah.
all these rare breeds and things like that. So it's definitely growing. Cackle is here to provide you with your chicken needs, to fill that addiction that you have out there, right? Because it is an addiction.
You do
I know,
get addicted.
I know there are people out there that have addicted. They start with 3, then they have 6, then they have 16, and then it's 160. And it's
Yeah.
off the charts with some of these people who have it.
Yeah.
You're happy to provide them birds. We're happy to provide them the nutrition that they need, and we're happy to educate you on how to keep those birds going. So I think that's going to about wrap up the time that we have for today. So I want to thank Kemba for joining us.
My pleasure.
And Jeff for inviting us and giving us kind of a behind-the-scenes tour of Cackle. And we certainly want to give you a shout-out for providing us with the birds last year. I think I was probably remiss in not giving you enough credit for those birds last year. And we'll make sure that we do that again this year, because we are going to be raising some birds this year. So we'll make sure people know that you're providing us with our chickens, and people will be following us along. So I guess if you're have more questions about how to feed your birds, you can go to our Purina website. It's www.flockstrong.com. You can go to cacklehatchery.com to find where you can order your birds and get some information there. So I guess, if you want to learn more about what birds we're raising and how to raise them, we're going to follow the weekly check-ins. Come back to us on Thursday. We'll be doing that again. So for Kemba, Jeff, and myself, thank you for joining us. Have a
Thanks,
nice day.
everybody.
Thank you.